Thank you, Mark. Are the microphones all turned on? Can everyone hear us? Yeah. Great. This is where you get the chance to do some work. You've sat there and listened to a number of very interesting presentations so far today, but I think the benefit from these events often comes from the interaction between the speakers and the audience, and hopefully we can get some lively debate going. Private finance projects are dead. Long-live private finance projects, or is it the rumours of their death have been greatly exaggerated? I think maybe yes and maybe no. Some months ago, Mark said that IPA began doing some work in a working group to look at the challenges for delivering private finance projects in this environment, and a number of relevant comments have been made on that already today. I might try to maximise the time that we've got for questions from the floor, so I might just kick off with one question for the panel generally for each of them to comment on, and then I'll throw it up into the floor, and hopefully there's enough interest in this debate to keep it going. The question I'd ask of each of them is that the Victorian desal project was signed, and I'm assuming that the challenges for financial close have been addressed, and that we get to financial close. So the question is, in an environment where there is an uptick in general optimism worldwide, and where the banks are at least starting to make money, is it the situation that the problems are behind us and we can look forward to a much easier environment for delivering private finance projects? John?
Yep, happy to start. Thanks, Fred. We're talking about a level of confidence here. I guess the GFC has been predominantly a confidence-driven or a lack of confidence-driven problem across the world. So I wouldn't necessarily say with a lot of confidence that we're out of the woods yet. In fact, in respect to the desalination project, we haven't reached financial close. And I think in this, where there's still a lot of volatility in the markets, to be too precise about just how the ultimate transaction was structured right now is something that we can't talk about. But we do have a lot, we are at contract close. We should get to financial close. That should not be a problem, so I'm not creating any doubt about that. It has set a benchmark because it was a large transaction, so I think it will and clearly has given the market a lot of confidence. So I do see improving confidence in the market, and improving confidence, I think, just as importantly, if not more importantly, by state governments. So I think there are a few projects where governments were potentially a little tentative about what the outcomes would be, and hopefully this project will provide confidence to other governments to continue to pursue their various PPP projects.
David?
Yeah, look, I think it's. I think the project certainly exploded the myth. We've been saying this for many months now. Exploded the myth that you can only do deals of sort of 500 million type size in this market. I mean, it is the largest transaction. It will be the largest transaction done in the world since the global financial crisis. And we are. There is no question. There is no question at the moment that we are seeing a much more renewed interest from the lending market. I mean, the bond market hasn't quite come back in Australia, but there is no question that the number of banks now who are looking to actually put assets on the book is increasing. There is starting to become a tiny bit of pricing tension, which there wasn't at all. I mean, obviously the desal transaction is of a size that it is hard to expect to get pricing tension on a deal of that size, but I have no doubt that if you're dealing with a PPP under $1 billion, you would have significant pricing tension now. And I think what the test will be is just how much actually does get done by the private sector at the end of the day in that transaction, and time will tell, but it will be a significant amount, and it certainly will give confidence to bidding parties as well that they can deliver a transaction that will be acceptable to governments, which is a concern that everybody's had now for many months.
Paul?
Well, the scale of the problem is just significant. I mean, I agree with John that I think we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a fair way to go. Nevertheless, deals are still being put together, and they were continually to be put together over the last couple of years. I mean, the Bioscience Research Centre in Melbourne was a particularly good project that had all the hallmarks of a good PPP, and that was put together during probably the height of the financial crisis. So, full marks for getting that one off the ground. there's so much infrastructure that needs to be done. Let's hope that governments can remain in a mood where they can adapt some aspects of the model to reflect the current circumstances. And I think that's what we've seen in Victoria, where there's been some slight tweaking of the model to make sure that, in fact, it is suitable to the market and is still a very strong investment from the market. So I think we are going to see quite a number of deals. I think one of the points that Peter Hicks put up, requiring political support, is a particularly important one. And clearly, you know, without that political support, things are just not going to happen. So we do need a strong ability, I think, to support these projects. I mean, most of these projects, and particularly some of the transport projects, are often controversial. There are aspects to them that some people, you know, don't like, but you've only got to look at the overall benefits to the economy to see the huge economic impact that they have in a positive sense in terms of job generation. So that political will is something that's absolutely critical as a key requirement for success.
Thanks, Paul. Can I invite questions? Can you please say your name and your organisation? Now we have a varied panel, so it's quite easy, I think, today to direct your question to a particular person. You don't have to, but if you do, then we'll get the others to comment. So the first question.
Robert Peck from Peck von Hartel. My question is really addressed to John and David. Given the criticisms in the current context of a global financial crisis, that the first thing that's sacrificed in a PPP traditionally, and this is the argument, has been the quality of design and urban design, and given the recent example of the desal plant in Victoria, where I'm pleased to say we're the architectural team, that the quality of design was paramount in both the government's perspective of judgment and the Macquarie risk of putting up what was obviously potentially a more expensive solution, but focusing on design as an outcome. Do you see this as a trend because of the criticisms, as a result of the criticism of PPPs in the past, or is it just the way we're going to go with the focus now on the cities and urban design generally?
I'm happy to start. I mean, design outcomes for the state, for Victorian state government, I'm sure other governments, is critical. I mean, we've seen you could apply the same sort of benchmark, I think, to projects such as the new convention centre, which is a 6-star green. I mean, in fact, there we put the request for tender called for a 5-star green building, and we ended up with a 6-star, still offering value for money. So we actually try and build in some drivers to get the right sort of sustainability outcomes and environmental outcomes. So it is critical. I think it's then important in terms of evaluation to clearly articulate the evaluation criteria and what's important to us, and to have that 2 or 3 envelope approach to choosing the winning bidder. So it's not about price or the lowest price. It's about value for money, which is measured against, you know, things like sustainable outcomes and the level of service that we're ultimately getting.
Yeah, I think, well, it does come down to the value for money question. I think from the private sector, the important thing is there is a very clear statement from the government as to what they want. And one of the things that is the most frustrating thing for us is when there is a clear statement, but it actually doesn't gel with what the actual cost is. And we've been involved in a number of projects where the government says we want A, B, C, D and E, and you design it and you know it's going to cost 1.5 times what their cost might be. And that's the frustrating thing. And then you look at it and say, well, actually, should we be targeting the cost or should we be targeting the objectives? And so clarity around that, and also a very sensible analysis around that. And the markets do change, the construction price world moves around and the O&M world moves around, but a sensible analysis from the government side on that at the start, and the interaction during the process with the agencies is important to get the right outcome, I think.
Can I just comment? I think